The clock on the microwave says 3:17 a.m., and I haven't moved from this couch since 9 p.m. The coffee in my hand went cold hours ago, but I keep holding it like it's going to give me an answer. Like anything in this room is going to give me an answer. On the coffee table, 3 things sit in a row like evidence at a trial. The unpaid electric bill with a red final notice stamped across the top. The envelope from Elijah's school I opened at dinner and never finished reading, something about failing grades, 3 classes, a meeting they want me to schedule. And my phone, screen still glowing with the overtime request I submitted last week. Denied. Budget constraints. Maybe next quarter. 3 weeks since I've slept more than 2 hours at a time. 3 weeks of lying in bed staring at the ceiling, running numbers in my head that don't add up, hearing Sarah's voice in my memory asking me to be patient with him. She always said that. Be patient with him, Marcus. He's not you. He doesn't carry things the way you do. But Sarah's been gone 4 years now, and Patience left this house the day she did. I look at our wedding photo on the wall. The one where she's laughing at something I said, her head tilted back, my arm around her waist. We were 23. I thought I had everything figured out back then. I thought being a father meant working hard, providing, keeping rules, making sure your kid didn't make the same mistakes you did. I thought love was a structure you built, not a language you learned. I whisper it out loud to nobody. To her. To the empty room. I don't know what to do with him anymore. I've tried everything. And the silence that follows is the kind that sits on your chest. This house has become 2 strangers living under one roof. I wake up at 4:45 a.m., leave by 5:30, work 60 hours a week managing a warehouse in Carson, come home after 7 p.m., eat whatever's left in the fridge, and pass out watching the news. Elijah leaves for school before I get up, comes home after I'm already gone, and by the time I walk through the door, his bedroom door is closed. Always closed. I don't remember the last time I saw it open. I don't remember the last time I knocked. That door has become something more than wood and paint. It's a symbol now. Every night I walk past it, pause for 3 seconds, raise my hand halfway, and then keep walking. Because what would I even say? Hey, I know I've been absent for 4 years, but let's have a heart-to-heart right now at 9:30 on a Tuesday. Yeah. That's not how it works. I wasn't raised with a father. Mine left when I was 6, and my mother worked double shifts at a laundromat until her hands cracked and bled. Nobody taught me how to be a dad. I learned parenting from books I bought at a thrift store, from YouTube videos I watched on my lunch break, from discipline and schedules and consequences. I thought if I could just control the environment enough, if I could just keep everything in order, I could protect him from becoming me. Funny how that works. I've spent so much energy trying to keep him from repeating my failures that I never stopped to ask if he even knows I love him. Here's a mirror moment for you. Right now, someone listening to this is living in the same house as someone they love and hasn't spoken a real word to them in months. Maybe it's your kid. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your own father. And you tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, but the right time never comes because the right time requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like weakness, and you've built your whole life around being strong. That's the lie I believed. Strength means silence. Strength means control. Strength means never letting them see you scared. But let me tell you what happened 6 months ago. The last time Elijah and I sat at the same table and ate a meal together. He was 17 then. Still had that nervous habit of tapping his fork against his plate when he wanted to say something important. I was halfway through my rice and chicken when he cleared his throat and said, "Dad, I need to talk to you about something." I didn't look up. I'm listening. I've been thinking about college. About what I want to study. Engineering, I said. We've talked about this. Good money. Stable career. You're good at math. Silence. Fork tapping. I don't want to do engineering. His voice got quieter. I want to study music. Composition. I've been writing songs. I put my fork down. Harder than I meant to. Music won't feed you, Elijah. I heard my own voice come out sharp, dismissive, the same tone my warehouse supervisor uses when someone asks for a day off. Look how many hours I work so you can have tuition. You think I'm doing 60-hour weeks so you can waste it on something with no future? He didn't argue. That's the thing about Elijah. He never argues. He just absorbs. Takes the hit. Stores it somewhere inside. He put down his chopsticks. Pushed back his chair. Walked to his room. That was the last time we ate together. What I didn't know, what nobody told me until months later, was that Elijah cried in the bathroom that night. Locked the door, sat on the edge of the tub, and asked a question I still can't get out of my head. He asked if his father would ever see him for who he is, not for what he fails to achieve. I didn't know that. I was too busy being right. 3 months ago, I picked him up from school after a parent-teacher meeting. I was early for once, so I parked in the back lot near the soccer field and waited. And that's when I saw him. He was sitting on the bleachers with 2 friends, laughing at something. His head was thrown back, mouth open, the kind of laugh I hadn't seen since he was 12 years old. And in his hands, he was holding an old guitar. A beat-up acoustic with scratches on the body, probably borrowed from the school music room. His fingers moved across the strings like they belonged there. Like he'd been doing this for years in secret. I sat in my car and watched him. I watched my son be happy. I watched my son be someone I didn't recognize. Someone free. Then one of his friends nudged him and pointed toward my car. And the moment Elijah's eyes met mine through the windshield, his smile vanished. Just like that. Gone. Replaced by something flat and guarded. He handed the guitar back to his friend, said goodbye, and walked toward the car. 25 minutes driving home. Not a single word. Thursday rain hits the windshield like someone throwing gravel. I pull into the driveway at 4:15 p.m., shift got cancelled, supervisor said slow week Marcus, go home, and that's when I see him. Elijah is sitting on Mrs. Thompson's porch next door. My 17-year-old son, the one who hasn't spoken more than 4 words to me in 3 months, is sitting cross-legged on a wooden porch next to a 72-year-old widow. And he's holding his guitar. Then he smiles. Not the polite smile he gives me when I ask how school was. Not the flat, guarded expression from the car ride 3 months ago. This is a real smile. The kind that reaches his eyes. The kind I haven't seen since he was 12 years old, back when he still thought his dad could fix anything. She's praying. She's praying for my son. Here's the truth I couldn't escape in that moment, the mirror I had to look into whether I wanted to or not. My son can talk to a 72-year-old neighbor he barely knows, but he can't talk to his own father. He can smile for Mrs. Thompson. He can trust Mrs. Thompson. He can receive prayer from Mrs. Thompson. But from me? Nothing. Silence. Closed doors. That's the mirror moment for every parent who feels they've lost their child. You're watching them be fully alive, just not with you. That night, I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I knocked on Mrs. Thompson's door. It was 8:30 p.m. The rain had stopped. The porch light flickered once before she opened the door, and when she saw me standing there with red eyes and no umbrella, she didn't look surprised. She just smiled and said, "Marcus, I've been expecting you. Come in. I put the kettle on 10 minutes ago." How did she know? Her house smells like cinnamon and old books. The same furniture from when I was a kid and her husband used to hand out full-size candy bars on Halloween. She pours me tea in a chipped mug, the one with the Bible verse on it, Proverbs something, and sits down across from me at the kitchen table. I saw you in the car, she says. No judgment. Just fact. I don't know what to say. I wrap my hands around the mug and stare at the steam. Marcus. She waits until I look up. You're trying so hard to be a perfect father that you've forgotten how to be a real one. The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I open my mouth. Nothing comes out. She stirs her tea slowly. I've been following this morning prayer channel. Every day at 6 a.m., before the sun comes up. This week, the pastor's been teaching on the parable of the prodigal son. You know it? I nod. Everyone knows it. The son who took his inheritance early, wasted it all, hit rock bottom, and came home. The father who ran to meet him. Good, she says. Then answer me this. She sets her spoon down and looks at me with eyes that have seen 80 years of joy and grief and everything in between. What do you think the father in that story was doing while his son was still at home? Before he left? I blink. I've never thought about that. Was he also busy? Also full of expectations? Also silent? She leans forward. Like you, Marcus? The question pierces through every defense I've built. I can't answer. Because I know the answer. The father in the story was probably the same kind of father I'd been, present but absent, providing but not connecting, waiting for his son to meet his standards instead of meeting his son where he was. Elijah came over 3 weeks ago, Mrs. Thompson says quietly. He was sitting on my porch steps at 10 p.m., in the dark, holding that guitar. I asked him why he wasn't at home. He said, my dad doesn't want to hear me. She lets that sit in the air between us. I asked him if he'd play something for me. And Marcus, that boy can play. He played a song he wrote himself. About feeling invisible. About never being enough. Her voice cracks just slightly. I cried. Right there on the porch. And then I prayed for him. I've been praying for him every day since. I can't stop the tears now. They fall into my tea, into my hands, onto the table. Marcus, listen to me. She reaches across and takes my hand. You still have time. But you have to stop waiting for him to come to you. You have to go to him. Even if he rejects you. Even if he slams the door. Even if he says he hates you. You go to him anyway. I couldn't sleep that night. At 2:47 a.m., I found myself in the hallway, standing outside Sarah's old home office. The door's been closed since she left. 3 years. I haven't touched anything in there. But tonight, I opened it. The room smells like dust and forgotten memories. Her desk is still covered with sticky notes in her handwriting. Her reading chair still has the wool blanket she used to wrap around herself on cold nights. And on the corner of the desk, her Bible. The one with the worn leather cover and the pencil notes in the margins. I sat down in her chair. I opened to Luke chapter 15. And I read. I read about the son who demanded his inheritance while his father was still alive, basically saying, I wish you were dead, and the father who gave it to him anyway. I read about the far country, the famine, the pig slop. I read about the moment the son came to his senses and decided to go home, rehearsing his apology in his head, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But then I read something I'd never noticed before. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son. He ran. The father didn't wait on the porch with his arms crossed, demanding an explanation. He didn't stand at the door and say, first, apologize. Then we'll talk. He didn't even wait for his son to reach the house. He ran. He threw his dignity aside. Grown men in that culture didn't run, it was shameful, and he sprinted toward his boy. Toward the same son who had rejected him. Toward the same son who had wasted everything. Toward the same son who probably smelled like pigs and failure. And then I read what the father did next. He put a robe on his son's filthy shoulders. He put a ring on his finger, the family signet ring, the symbol of belonging. He called for a feast. Not because the son had changed. Not because the son had proven himself. But simply because he had returned. The son's rehearsed apology? The father barely let him finish it. He was too busy calling for the musicians. Friday night, 11:42 p.m. The hallway is dark except for a thin strip of light coming from under Elijah's door. And I do something I haven't done in 3 years. I lower myself to the floor, my back against the wall, my knees pulled up like a kid waiting for a punishment that's already been delivered. I speak. Not loud. Just toward the door. Elijah. Nothing. But the strip of light doesn't move. He's awake in there. I don't know how to do this. My voice cracks on the word this, and I realize I'm not even sure what this is: apology, confession, surrender. Maybe all three. I've been sitting out here trying to figure out the right words, the perfect thing to say that would fix everything. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. That's been my whole problem, hasn't it? Trying to be perfect. Trying to make you perfect. Trying to control everything so nothing could go wrong. Your grandfather left when I was 7 years old. Did I ever tell you that? 7. I came home from school one day and his closet was empty. No note. No explanation. Just gone. I swallow hard. My mother, your grandmother, she worked double shifts after that. I raised myself. Taught myself to shave from a YouTube video. Figured out how to tie a tie for my first job interview by watching a stranger on the internet. I told myself I didn't need anyone. I told myself I was strong because I was alone. And then you were born. And I looked at your tiny face, your fingers curled around my thumb, and I made a promise. My voice drops to a whisper. I promised I would never leave you the way he left me. I promised I would be the father I never had. But somewhere along the way, somewhere between the engineering brochures and the report cards and my obsession with your future, I became a different kind of absent. I was in the house, but I wasn't here. I was so busy building a path for you that I never asked if it was the path you wanted to walk. I press my palm flat against the door. The wood is cool and smooth. I read something tonight. In your mother's old Bible. The story about the father with 2 sons. You know the one, the younger son demands his inheritance, runs off, wastes everything. Hits rock bottom. Decides to come home. A tear slides down my cheek, and I don't wipe it away. The part that got me, the part I've read 100 times but never really saw, is that the father saw his son coming while he was still a long way off. And he ran. He didn't stand on the porch with his arms crossed, waiting for an apology. He didn't demand an explanation. He ran. Silence. But I know he's listening. I can feel it. I've never run to meet you, Elijah. I've always waited for you to come to me. Waited for you to apologize first. Waited for you to see things my way. Waited behind a closed door and called it strength. My palm presses harder against the wood, like I'm trying to push the words through. But I'm not strong. I'm scared. I'm scared I've lost you. I'm scared it's too late. I'm scared you'll walk out that door someday and never come back, and I'll be standing here with my arms still crossed, wondering why I didn't run when I had the chance. The tears are coming freely now. I don't fight them. So here's what I want you to know. Not as your father, because honestly, I'm still figuring out what that even means. But as a man who loves you more than he knows how to say. I take a shaky breath. I'm still here. I will still be here. Not to force you into engineering. Not to control your future. Not to make you into my image of who you should be. Just to be here. If you ever open the door, I'll be here. If you don't, I'll still be here. If it takes months, years, I'm not going anywhere. I wait. The silence stretches. 5 seconds. 10. 20. And then, so quiet I almost miss it, a sound from the other side of the door. Not words. Just a soft thump, like a hand pressing flat against the wood. Right where my hand is. I don't move. I don't speak. I just press back. We sit like that. Father and son. A door between us. Closer than we've been in years. Inside the room, I can hear something else now, the faintest sound of crying. But it's not the angry crying from before. It's something different. Something that sounds almost like relief. I don't know how long we stay like that. Time doesn't matter anymore. All I know is that for the first time in 3 years, I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm not trying to be right. I'm not trying to win. I'm just present. Just loving. Just waiting. And that's when it hits me, the truth I've been missing my entire life. The father didn't love the prodigal because he came back. The father was already loving him from the road, every single day he was gone. That love was never absent, it was just waiting to be seen. Waiting to be received. Waiting for the moment when the son would finally lift his eyes from the pig slop and see, on the horizon, a figure running toward him with arms wide open. I've been trying to be God in my son's life, controlling, perfect, demanding. But I forgot that God is also the Father who runs. The Father who waits. The Father who loves before we deserve it. Before we apologize. Before we change. Before we even turn toward home. The next morning, I leave breakfast on the table as usual. Eggs. Toast. The orange juice he likes with extra pulp. But this time, I also leave a small note. It's not a speech. It's not a lecture. It's just 7 words, I'd like to hear you play guitar sometime. If you want. I don't knock on his door. I don't wait for a response. I just go to work. 3 days later, I come home at 4:15 p.m., shift got cancelled again, slow week, and as I walk through the front door, I hear it. Music. Coming from Elijah's room. His door is slightly open. Just a crack. But it's open. I stand in the hallway, still wearing my jacket, still holding my keys. And I listen. He's playing something I've never heard before, a melody that sounds like rain on a window, like a question being asked, like a door opening 1 inch at a time. I don't go in. I don't say anything. I just stand there in the hallway, my eyes closed, letting the music wash over me. And for the first time in 3 years, I'm not thinking about engineering or report cards or the future I planned for him. I'm just grateful. Grateful that he's still here. Grateful that he's still playing. Grateful that love, when it's real, doesn't demand, it invites.